shocking revelation, the world before the flood. 3AM Exposé you must see now. The clock struck 3. In the stillness of the night, shadows danced across the walls like long-forgotten memories. It was at this haunting hour that an unsettling truth began to claw its way to the surface, a revelation buried deep beneath the echoes of history. The world was not as it seemed. The very ground we walked on, the waters we drank, held secrets older than time itself. Once, legends spoke of a great flood, a deluge that obliterated entire civilizations. But what if that was only the beginning? What if there were whispers of another world, one far more sinister and enigmatic, hidden just below our feet, in a small, dimly lit room, a projector whirred to life, casting flickering images onto faded walls. A collector of curiosities, Dave, stood fascinated by the strange artifacts that surrounded him. But there was one object that held his gaze, an ancient map, lined with symbols that seemed to pulse with energy. The map was rumored to lead to the sacred crystal vault, a mythical place said to house the memories of the world before the flood. It was here, the stories claimed, that dread entities whispered the truth of humanity's origins. A lump formed in his throat as he traced the jagged edges with trembling fingers, fueled by both excitement and fear. What was waiting for him? As he prepared to delve deeper, a cold gust blew through the open window, sending a shiver down his spine. Instinctively, he tightened his grip around a peculiar object, a small, glass vial filled with shimmering sand. With each grain sparkling like stars in the darkness, Dave felt the weight of history pressing down upon him. What terrible power lay within? The legends had spoken of people who had vanished in pursuit of knowledge, their curious minds leading them to an abyss of forbidden secrets. Could he be next? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. But just as he prepared to venture forth, a sudden silence enveloped the room, the kind that steals the breath from your lungs. A chilling thought gripped him. What if he wasn't meant to find the vault after all? What if the truths locked away there were not for the likes of him? The air thickened with dread. Dave glanced at the map again, his heart racing. He knew he had crossed a line. With a mix of determination and fear, he whispered to himself, this is where it all begins. What lay ahead? Would he uncover the shocking truths of a world long lost, or would he be swept away like so many before him? As the weight of his decision loomed over him, the air shimmered with a strange electricity, like the very fabric of reality was on the brink of tearing apart. With shaky hands, Dave rolled up the ancient map, his mind racing with possibilities. He could almost hear the whispers of the entities, echoing his name, urging him to follow their cryptic trail. But he hesitated, glancing towards the window, which stood wide open, inviting the dark night inside. The thought of stepping into the unknown sent a chill dancing down his spine. What if those who came before weren't just lost, they were trapped? He could feel it deep in his gut, there was something sinister attached to this quest. Yet, here he was, a moth drawn to the flame, the thrill of discovery mingled with the sting of fear. He took a deep breath, the sharp tang of dust filling his lungs. The vial of shimmering sand slipped between his fingers, and he quickly caught it, its cool surface grounding him. Maybe, just maybe, this was the power he needed to unlock the secrets hidden long ago. Holding it close to his chest, he felt a warmth radiating from it, as if the sand knew its purpose. Okay, focus, Dave muttered to himself. The crystal vault. It's somewhere in the city. He opened the map again, tracing over the ancient symbols and complex routes. Each line felt like it was pulsing, alive with potential. With every passing moment, the urgency gnawed at him, drawing him in deeper. If he waited any longer, someone else might find it first. Just remember, he cautioned himself, knowledge has its price. He stepped out of the room, the echoes of the projector leaving a haunting resonance behind. The hallway was shrouded in darkness, the flickering overhead light casting long shadows that seemed to follow him, as if whispering warnings. Dave's heart raced as he made his way outside, the cool night air invigorating yet unsettling. The streets were empty, and the silence stretched out like a gaping chasm. He could hear the distant sounds of the city, cars thrumming, a dog barking far off, all persistent reminders of life continuing outside of his strange adventure. Clutching the map and vial, he set off toward the downtown area, where the secret location supposedly waited, cloaked beneath layers of time and debris. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from an alleyway, jolting him to a halt. The hairs on the back of his neck prickled. His instincts screamed at him to turn back, but he felt an inexplicable pull toward the noise. Cautiously, he peered into the shadows. A figure emerged from the darkness, their silhouette stark against the dim light of the street. Dave's blood ran cold. The moment their eyes met, he realized he wasn't the only one searching for the crystal vault. Panic surged within him as he took a step back, retreating into the veil of night, but it was too late. Looking for something, are we? The figure rasped, a wicked grin spreading across their face. The ground beneath Dave felt less like solid earth and more like quicksand, threatening to swallow him whole. How much of this was a coincidence? What if he had awakened forces beyond his control? Who are you? He demanded, trying to keep his voice steady, though his heart hammered in his chest like a war drum. The figure stepped closer, revealing a face lined with the shadows of lost knowledge. And why do you think you deserve to find the truth? Dave felt a lump form in his throat. The quest for answers had just turned dangerous. As the figure extended their hand, darkness pulsing with energy, he braced himself for what could either be his salvation or his ruin. Who were they, another seeker, or a guardian of the secrets he dared to chase? In that instant, a piercing scream shattered the night, echoing from the depths of the alley, cutting through the oppressive silence and sending shivers down his spine. What was happening? Before he could react, the figure turned abruptly, vanishing back into the shadows, leaving an ominous chill hanging in the air. A rush of adrenaline surged through Dave. Could this be the beginning of the end, or a mere taste of the horrors that lay ahead? His pulse quickened as he pieced together a decision that could redefine everything. Would he follow the figure and uncover what truths they held, or press on toward the crystal vault, oblivious to the dangers lurking in the darkness? As the echo of that scream filled his mind with unease, he knew one thing: he needed to choose, and he had to choose fast. The alley was a void, swallowing every hint of light. Dave felt like a turtle retreating into its shell, heart pounding, blood rushing loud in his ears. He could still hear that scream, a cry of raw terror that reverberated through the still night. It was rough and haunting, leaving an imprint on his mind. The figure had vanished, but their words gnawed at him. Why do you think you deserve to find the truth? An unsettling challenge. Did he truly deserve to unravel the secrets of the crystal vault, or was he merely a pawn in a game far beyond his comprehension? He instinctively tightened his grip around the vial of sand, the warmth of it grounding him. The night air was thick now, trapping Dave in a claustrophobic embrace. Should he give in to the fear, turn back and forget this cursed chase? But the thought of walking away felt like conceding defeat, something he wasn't willing to do. The adrenaline began to fuel his resolve. He stepped further into the shadows, the weight of the map heavy in his pocket. He had come this far, and that scream only stoked the fire of his curiosity. If he truly wanted to unlock the secrets around him, he had to press on. The downtown area was still a mile away, another obstacle. He moved quickly, ducking into a nearby park, where silver moonlight spilled over the uneven ground, illuminating twisted trees that reached towards the sky like grasping fingers. As he forged across the grass, the atmosphere shifted. It felt alive, crackling with a palpable energy that sent both excitement and fear coursing through his veins. Suddenly, a rustling sound made him stop dead in his tracks. Dave held his breath, eyes darting towards the noise. Was it the same figure? Another stalker? Or something worse? He could feel every fiber of his being throbbing with terror. Then, out of the darkness, a small creature scurried forward, a cat, its eyes glowing like tiny orbs in the dim light. The tension broke for an instant as he let out a shaky laugh, brushing off the jitters. Just a cat, he whispered to himself, though the lingering unease kept his heart racing, but it was a small victory. Dave took a deep breath, pushing himself to clear his mind. He was close. He could feel it. With renewed determination, he hurried down a path that led closer to the city center. Ramps of the past clung to the architectural marvels around him. Shadows danced from corners, whispering secrets he craved to understand. But every step left a trail of uncertainty. Was he truly alone? As he approached a massive stone building, the atmosphere thickened, vibrating with a haunted energy. This had to be it. The crystal vault was somewhere within. But something didn't feel right. The silence was creeping back, and he remembered those that came before him. Were the warnings in his gut valid? Were they trying to warn him of a danger he couldn't yet see? He glanced around, still clutching the map. There had to be an entry point somewhere he could slip inside undetected. Just as he scanned the entrance, a flash of movement caught his eye from the corner of the street. "Hey! You!" A voice called, breaking the stillness like a crack of thunder. Dave froze, fear flooding back with an icy grip. He turned slowly, bracing himself for whatever threat lay behind him. Fear clawed at his throat as he struggled against the urge to run. The figure from the alley stepped forward again, the grin still plastered across their face, but now there was something different, something more menacing. "You shouldn't have come here, Dave. You have no idea what you're dealing with." In that moment, the sheer horror of his situation crashed down on him. The veil of adventure was pulled aside, revealing the dark truth behind his quest. It was only a matter of time before he found out just how deep the conspiracies ran and how deadly the secrets of the crystal vault truly were. As he stared into the figure's eyes, a loud crash echoed down the street, followed by shouts and chaos erupting from the shadows. Something was coming, and it was hungry for answers or vengeance. Would he stand to face it, or would he flee into the unknown, risking everything he held dear? The weight of that decision hung heavy, and the answer was as elusive as the darkness around him. The figure lunged forward, their intentions clear in the flickering streetlight. Panic surged through Dave as instinct kicked in. This was no time to stand paralyzed by fear. He turned and sprinted down the dimly lit street, heart hammering against his ribs. Behind him, the echo of footsteps chased him, pounding on the pavement like a relentless drum. He glanced over his shoulder, but the figure was lost in shadows. Still, the weight of their words hung over him like a storm cloud. What truth was he entangled in? Breathless, he veered into an empty alleyway, his heart racing with each step. The narrow space smelled of damp concrete and something foul, but he could barely register it. The sound of distant chaos filled his ears, shouts, crashes, the clamor of a world unraveling. Maybe this was a part of the truth he sought. That he paused for a moment to gather his thoughts, pressing his back against a cold wall. The sensation of the stone leached warmth from his skin, grounding him in reality. They had said he didn't know what he was dealing with. But maybe he was about to find out. Dave pulled out the map, his fingers trembling as he unfolded it. Within its creases lay a path to the crystal vault, a path now laced with fear and uncertainty. He needed to focus. If he could just reach the vault, he might uncover answers hidden beneath layers of deception. But could he trust what lay ahead? As he studied the map, footsteps approached again, breaking the stillness. Furtive glances revealed a pair of figures moving in the shadows, their voices a sinister chorus. "He's close," one of them hissed. "We can't let him get to the vault. He'll ruin everything." A cold rush of dread crept up Dave's spine. They were looking for him. He stuffed the map into his pocket and took off again, ducking through a side street, heart racing and skin prickling. He navigated through the urban maze like a rat in a labyrinth, weaving between cars and piles of garbage. The cacophony behind him grew louder. Shouts and crashing sounds collided in the air. Dave couldn't tell if it was bickering among the figures pursuing him, or someone far more dangerous. He burst onto a busier avenue, headlights blinding. People rushed past, blissfully unaware of the chaos unfolding just a few feet away. Desperation clawed at him, he couldn't let fear paralyze him now. "Excuse me. Have you seen?" he gasped to a stranger, but they skirted away, a confused look darting across their face. His mind raced, processing the possible paths he could take. Dave spotted a nearby alley that might lead him back to the vault's location. He dashed towards it, ignoring the tightening in his gut urging him to turn back. What awaited him inside? The alley seemed darker, more suffocating than the rest, and he felt the suffocating grip of anxiety pooling in his chest. Footsteps echoed behind him, drawing nearer. It was their relentless determination that fueled his resolve. He needed to discover the vault, but it wouldn't be easy. With a final burst of speed, he raced into the depths of the alley. The faint glimmer of moonlight occasionally broke through alongside walls strewn with graffiti, mocking him as he passed. Then, he heard it. A low growl, primal and menacing. It reverberated off the walls, chilling him to the bone. Something not human, something far worse was lurking in the shadows, waiting for the right moment to strike. His breath hitched. There could be no mistake now. He was caught in a trap, and the walls were closing in fast. All those whispers of danger had come home to roost. Dave halted, panicked eyes darting. What lay ahead was uncertain, but he had no choice but to face it. "Show yourself!" he shouted, though the quiver in his voice betrayed him. The monstrous growl escalated, an animalistic response that promised violence. What transpired next would change everything. Would he confront this creature of darkness or be swallowed whole by the very truth he sought? Questions raced through Dave's mind as the growl turned into a deafening roar. The roar echoed like a thunderstorm, vibrating through the brick walls of the alley. Dave's blood froze. It was bigger than him, louder and angrier. The weight of despair wrapped around him, squeezing. He could feel the cold sweat on his back as he took a hesitant step back, his fingertips grazing the jagged edge of the wall. "Think, Dave," he whispered to himself, urgency digging deeper than fear. He remembered a window at the end of the alley. If he could just reach it with every ounce of energy, he pushed forward, his breath coming in strained gasps. But the creature had other plans. A massive form surged from the darkness, bearing teeth that glinted in the sparse light. It charged, and the ground trembled beneath its weight. Dave's instincts kicked into overdrive. He bolted, weaving away from the jaws snapping just inches from his back. Each stride felt like running through molasses, the air thick with dread. What was it? Some nightmare made flesh. He didn't dwell on that long. Just survival. "Move!" he shouted, not caring if anyone could hear him. The monster's roar rattled his bones, a primal warning to flee or perish. As he reached the window, he leaped, crashing against it shoulder first. The pane shattered, a shower of glass raining around him. He tumbled into the building, landing hard on the cold floor inside. Dazed, he pushed himself up, inhaling the musty air. The whispers of the night faded slightly, drowned out by the pounding of his heart. Uncertainty danced on the edge of his thoughts. He spotted a staircase in the dim light ahead, nothing but a gloomy ascent that promised escape or death. From the alley, the creature screeched in frustration, clawing at the remnants of his last haven. It was hunting him now, driven by a thirst for vengeance. He had to move. He rushed upwards, not stopping to ponder where he was going. Upstairs, he found a narrow hallway lined with old doors. Most were locked, but one stood slightly ajar, its hinges creaking ominously. Risking it all, he slipped inside, closing the door softly behind him. Darkness enveloped the room. The scent of mildew invaded his senses. Dave's pulse raced as he scanned for anything useful. He stumbled over piles of items, a dusty chair, crumpled papers, and finally, he spotted something glinting in a corner. His heart skipped. It was a small, metallic box, intricately designed, appearing untouched by dust. Could this be connected to the crystal vault? Suddenly, the door burst open. Dave whirled around to see one of the figures from earlier, the sinister ones, standing there. Panic shot through him again, but this time, determination flooded his veins. He clenched his fists, ready to fight or run. There's nowhere to hide. The figure shouted, their eyes wild. But there's a truth you're not ready for. Dave blurted out, surprising himself. And what truth might that be? The figure sneered, stepping into the dim light. As they spoke, a noise came from behind them, a growl that echoed through the hallway. The monster had followed him. The figure turned briefly, and in that split second, Dave seized the opportunity. He lunged for the box, grabbing it tightly. Would it hold secrets or consequences? Get out of the way! He yelled, shoving past the figure as the creature bore down on them, teeth bared, letting out a terrifying roar. And just like that, Dave was caught between a monstrous beast and a shadowy enemy, the box clutched to his chest, and the taste of survival on his lips. What would he uncover within? And could he escape the carnage still lurking around him? As chaos erupted behind him, he dashed towards a window, ready to leap into the unknown. Would the truth he sought set him free or lead him deeper into a trap? The answers lay just beyond the glass. The moment Dave lunged through the window, the air around him shifted. Time slowed, stretching the uncertainty, creating a tapestry of dread woven tightly with adrenaline. He hit the ground hard, rolling to absorb the impact, the box clutched under his arm like a lifeline. The moonlight illuminated the damp alley, casting eerie shadows that danced like phantoms. He scrambled to his feet, heart racing, and glanced back. The figure was shrieking, a sound that echoed off the brick walls, but all he could focus on was the monster bursting through the doorway. Its fearsome roar ripped through the night, the echoes reverberating off the buildings, a summons from hell. The creature's half-silhouette loomed in the arch of the window, a distorted mirror of rage and hunger. Run! He heard the figure cry, but Dave didn't need telling twice. He shot forward, legs pumping, pursuing a desperate escape into the abyss of the night. As he turned the corner, his breath came harsh and ragged. He could hear the thudding of heavy footsteps behind him, each pound a countdown to doom. How on earth would this end? Panic clawed at his gut, squeezing tighter as he navigated the winding streets, home now to shadows and secrets. The sensation of being hunted gnawed at him, each echo of the monster-esque growl promising pain, then he remembered the box. Its cold metal felt like a pulse against his chest. What if it really was tied to the crystal vault? Was that why the sinister figures were after it? He had no idea what lay inside, but this moment demanded a choice. Should he open it now? Or keep running? Dave skidded to a stop, the fluorescent light of a nearby convenience store flickering above him. The decision weighed heavily. He could feel the monster-esque breath on his neck, a ghost of chill and terror. But the box, everything he could ever want to know, could be trapped inside. With trembling hands, he placed the box on the ground, drawing in a shaky breath. An essential flick of the latch, that's all it took. His fingers hesitated, caught in the tension of possibility and fear. The sudden crash of the creature stomped closer. It was relentless, driven by something primal. Now or never. Dave whispered harshly, throwing the lid open. Inside, a blinding white light poured forth, illuminating the alley like a sunbeam cutting through fog. He shielded his eyes, confusion twisting into something else. Was it hope? Then he saw the images flashing within the box, swirling like a chaotic vortex. Memories? Faded pasts of faces he didn't recognize burst forth. It wasn't just a collection of objects, it was a connection, a tapestry of lives intertwined with the tale of the crystal vault. Dave stumbled back, mind racing. With each pulse of the light, fragments of insight hit him like electric shocks. He could see glimpses of the people who had fought against the darkness before him. He realized with horror, that creature wasn't just a monster. It was part of something much larger. The monster screeched, charging as the light began to shimmer, shifting the very fabric of the air. Dave's heart pounded louder than his steps as realization hit him. This wasn't just an escape, it was a confrontation with his fate. Could the light hold the answers he desperately sought? Would it repel the monster, or was it merely a deceitful glimmer? Time was running out, and the darkness hungered. The shadows loomed closer as gravity pulled at his resolve. What choice would he make? Fight! He shouted into the chaos, clutching the box tighter, drawing the light closer, but the raw power of it all, would it burn him alive, or ignite a new path? With a scream that mixed fear and determination, he lunged forward into the light, charging toward the unknowable depths of truth. And then, everything went white. What awaited him on the other side? Would he emerge whole, or as a mere fragment of light lost in the dark? The answers shimmered just beyond the horizon of his awareness. The brilliance enveloped Dave, wrapping him in a weightless embrace before everything collapsed into a deafening silence. It was overwhelming and yet soothing, as if he had crossed an unseen threshold. Slowly, the light began to fade, receding like a tide pulling away from the shore. As his vision cleared, he found himself on a rocky outcrop, the world around him distorted, the colors too vivid, too surreal. It was a landscape neither here nor there, somewhere suspended between reality and a dream. A terrible chill crept into his bones, the kind that hushed your breath and quickened your pulse. Before him stood a figure, shrouded in an aura that flickered like static on a broken screen. The shape was familiar but also alien, prompting a wave of recognition that turned into confusion. It looked like a version of himself but older, with deep lines etched into the skin and sorrow behind the eyes. "What is this?" he gasped, the words feeling foreign in a place that defied logic. "Your past, and your future," the figure replied, voice echoing like a foghorn across a misty bay. "You're standing at the crossroads of destiny." Dave's heart raced. Memories surged within him, fragments of laughter, fear, and loss. Faces whirled past him, people he couldn't quite place but felt intensely connected to. "What do you mean?" he pressed, desperation creeping into his tone. "Why am I here?" "A reckoning is upon you," the older Dave replied, gesturing toward a swirling dark mass in the distance. The shadows writhed, sea serpents in a tempest, hungry and insatiable. They were the remnants of the creature that had chased him, coiling and uncoiling like smoke, threatening to engulf everything. "The monster is coming. Your choice determines its path." Images flooded back to him, moments of courage, of cowardice. Choices made for himself, choices made for others. I didn't know it would come to this," Dave stammered, a lump forming in his throat. "You traveled here for knowledge," the older version intoned, eyes heavy with the weight of sacrifice. "But knowledge has a price, and you're too late to turn back. That box," he pointed to Dave's still tingling hands, "contains the power to decipher the darkness. But will you use it to fight, or will you succumb?" A shudder ran through Dave as he opened his palm, revealing the box. Its metal surface pulsed faintly, begging for release. The air thickened while anxiety crawled under his skin. "If I choose to confront the monster, what if I lose?" "Then you lose everything. But to stand idly by is to lose even more." Unease coiled in his gut. He was caught between trepidation and a burning need to understand. Did he dare take action? Could he wield whatever power lingered in the box? He had seen so many lives shaped by the crystal vault, and each bore a responsibility he couldn't ignore. As the shadows shifted closer, their movement deliberate and sinister, something surged within him, a flicker of resolve ignited by fear but fanned into flame by the knowledge that lives hung in the balance. Clenching his fists, Dave edged toward the swirling darkness, the box vibrating in sync with his racing heart. "I choose to fight," he yelled, his voice unwavering as the shadows recoiled, momentarily stunned. With newfound determination, he pulled open the box, the light spilling forth like molten dawn, drawing the darkness back with its brilliance. But behind the flickering shadows, he saw something pulse, a deeper darkness, lurking, watching, waiting for its moment. And in that heartbeat, a chilling thought struck him: what if this was just the beginning? The shadows surged forward again, and his heart thundered. Would the power of the box be enough to face what lay hidden? As the two forces collided, Dave braced himself for the impact. What awaited him in the darkness? Would the light be his salvation, or his downfall? The light from the box expanded in shimmering waves, clashing against the encroaching darkness. Dave felt its warmth, a fiery pulse igniting every fiber of his being. But as the shadows retreated, they writhed and twisted, mixing with the light, creating an unsettling dance that felt like a duel of wills. The air crackled around him, an electric tension hanging between courage and fear. Then, from the pulsating darkness, a low growl erupted. It reverberated in Dave's chest, a primal sound that slithered into his mind and rattled him to his core. The shadows solidified, taking on grotesque shapes: tentacles, jaws, eyes that shimmered like dying stars. For a split second, doubt nipped at his resolve. Was this really what he chose? He tightened his grip on the box. Inside him, conflicting emotions battled. Memories of loss, families torn apart, all fed the urgency coursing through him. He had to act, not just for himself but for those he hadn't saved yet. Stay back! Dave shouted, his voice steady, echoing into the void. But the monster only surged forward, its grotesque maw splitting to reveal rows of jagged teeth. It spoke through silence. The soundless threat pierced him deeper than any scream. Foolish boy, it seemed to say, infused with a cold laughter that swirled around him like a hurricane. You think the light can save you? It only draws attention with those words. The darkness lunged, like a predator closing in on its prey. Dave felt the skin prickling on his arms. The shadows grasped at him, coiling around his legs, pulling him down into the gloom. Panic surged through him, squeezing the breath from his lungs. But he couldn't yield. He wouldn't. I wield the light, he declared, and with a scream, he thrust the box upward. Light exploded, casting the shadows aside, revealing the true form of the beast. It was a reflection of himself, his fears, failures, and pain twisted into a monstrosity that howled with recognition. Dave's heart raced. This wasn't just a battle against an external monster. This was a fight against everything inside him. The twisted reflection smirked, its eyes hollow yet filled with malice. You're not strong enough to defeat me. Each word dripped with venom, attempting to burrow doubt into his mind. Enough! Dave roared, and with that, he flicked the lid of the box open wider. Light poured out, a torrent of brilliance that blasted into the creature's face. The darkness howled in agony, thrashing wildly as it dissipated like smoke in the wind. But as the beast began to fade, something even darker bubbled to the surface, an even deeper shadow looming like a great chasm, watching. A warning beep echoed through the tension, a shrill sound that sliced through the resonance of battle, and the ground trembled beneath him. The atmosphere changed, it felt heavier, oppressive, as if the very fabric of reality clutched in anticipation. Well, what is that? Dave gasped, eyes wide as he watched helplessly. A massive wave of darkness cascaded from beyond the veil, more terrifying than anything he had faced. It surged upward, towering over him, a threat that felt ancient, primal, a force that his light couldn't hold back. What awaits you is far more dangerous than what has been defeated, older Dave whispered, now a shade of fear reflecting off a landscape cracked with despair. Only the strongest can face this true darkness. With his heart hammering in his chest, Dave understood the weight of what lay ahead. It wasn't just a battle of light against dark, he was fighting for his very essence, for the future that hung in the balance, more dire than he could imagine. Then, he met the awful gaze of the colossal shadow staring back at him, and in that moment, cold realization settled in. If he failed, it wasn't just his life at stake, it was the end of everything he feared losing, but also, everything he could never regain. What would happen when the darkness finally revealed its terrifying truth? The darkness was alive, pulsing like a heartbeat, and it towered over Dave, a malevolent monolith casting dread and despair. It didn't just loom, it seemed to breathe, drawing in the very light he had produced, contorting and choking it. That frantic energy in the air tightened around him, a physical manifestation of his terror. Don't falter now, Dave whispered to himself, summoning every shred of resolve within him. The light from the box flickered, threatening to die as the shadows encroached, their grasp icy and suffocating. But deep inside, he felt a flicker of something else, a fierce determination ignited by the faces of all those he couldn't save, the tears that had fallen, the lives interrupted. Focus. You have to confront it. It's part of you. The words rang in his mind like a mantra, pushing him to stand firm. He took a deep breath, steeling himself against the overwhelming fear. Memories surged unbidden, his mother's smile, the laughter of friends, the warmth of hope that seemed lost in the darkness. Light! He shouted fiercely, and he angled the box, drawing the energies toward his core. The air charged, vibrating with the intensity of his will. Streams of blinding light cascaded from the box, snaking through the air like molten gold, seeking out the encroaching void. The gargantuan shadow recoiled, a tremor coursing through its form, yet it didn't retreat entirely. Instead, it writhed, morphing and bubbling like tar, as if taking pride in the struggle. You think that flicker can harm me? It taunted, its voice a clanging cymbal of despair that struck at Dave's heart. You are but a flicker in the dark, destined to be snuffed out. No. Dave bellowed. You don't understand. His voice, resolute and defiant, sliced through the oppressive atmosphere like a blade. The creature shuddered, tentacles spiraling backward, as if startled by the ferocity that surged within him. Each pulse of light pushed back the darkness, illuminating grotesque features that flickered like old film, revealing horrific visions of lost possibility, despair, and ruin. Then show me. It roared, echoing like a thunderstorm. Show me what you have to defeat me. What followed was a whirlwind of chaotic images, flashes of his past, the days lost in worry, the nights spent drowning in regrets, moments of weakness when he could have turned away yet chose to face the pain. And every one of those memories morphed into the heart of a beam, bright and potent, lashing at the shadow. In that instant of revelation, clarity surged in Dave's chest. If he owned his pain, he could harness its power. His own sorrow transformed into a weapon against the bleak abyss. Let us see just how strong I can be. He yelled, feeling the light blaze brighter. Every ounce of anguish he had buried became fuel, feeding the fire within. The shadows screamed, shrieking back in pain, thunderous and raw. But just as victory seemed near, the darkness roared back, condensing like a storm cloud. You're nothing without your fear. Without your faults. Dave staggered as wave upon wave of shadow crashed into him, tossing him against the unseen boundaries of this realm. Pain erupted throughout his body like needles stabbing at his soul. He could feel himself weakening, his light flickering dim. Fight! Don't let it win. Came the distant echo of older Dave's voice, a reminder urging him to hold on, and as the shadows clawed at him, he realized there was one truth left unexamined, one shifting shadow he hadn't confronted yet. It was buried deep, a secret he was afraid to acknowledge. Who am I really? He gasped. The question hung heavily in the air, reverberating through the darkness, a challenge thrown straight into the heart of his greatest fear. As the world around him vibrated in anticipation, a thunderous heartbeat echoed from the chasm. A flicker glinted in the mass of shadows as if answering his call. What darker truth awaited him? Could he confront it before it consumed him whole? Would he discover his true self in time, or would he be swallowed by the very darkness he sought to fight? As he braced himself for the battle ahead, one thought clawed at his consciousness: finding who he really was could unlock the ultimate power or doom him to eternal shadow. Dave stood amid a swirling void, torn between light and shadow, the echoes of his past crashing against the present. The darkness roared with all the pain he had swept under the rug, feeding on his doubts and insecurities. But one question surged at the forefront of his mind: who am I really? As the shadows writhed, morphing into shapes that mocked him, Dave took a breath, the very act grounding him in his identity. This wasn't just a fight against a monstrous entity, this was about knowing himself. The light from the metallic box pulsated with energy, hotter and more vibrant than anything he had ever felt. He could feel it merging with his heartbeat. I want to let you take me. Dave shouted, a visceral shout that reverberated through the emptiness. The dark form flickered, its energy crackling against his light in a fierce battle of wills. But it was more than just a battle, it was an awakening. Everything he had ever faced and avoided collided in that singular moment. A burst of clarity washed over him. I am more than fear. I am more than my failures. As he spoke, the light intensified, illuminating shadows, driving the darkness back. Each flicker became a testament to his journey, his struggles, his pain, and yet his resolve to rise against it all. The creature howled, and its form warped and flickered, struggling under the brilliance. You think you can fight me with empty words? It howled, mocking yet fearful. You're but a boy, lost in his tales. Unyielding, Dave countered, these tales are my strength. Every scar, every tear, it made me who I am today. The box in his hands blazed like a sun, spilling radiance until the darkness thinned, quaking in turmoil. Then, from the depths of the shadows, a chilling whisper slithered into his ear. You think they love you? They fear you. You're a weakness that should have stayed hidden. The darkness shifted, transforming into faces he knew well, friends, family, each twisted into grotesque forms. They judged him silently, their eyes hollow and filled with loss. Pain struck him like an electric shock, but this time, he wouldn't cower. No. They're my motivation. They deserve better. He bellowed, focusing. The box was no longer just a container, it was an extension of himself, radiating his hopes. With every ounce of will, he directed the light toward the monstrous reflection of his fears. It was a desperate thrust, the kind that pushes against a closing door. The shadows recoiled, twisting and whirling as Dave's light clashed against the dark. An unseen force surged forward, a shadow far more formidable and consuming than before. It encircled him and pressed against his soul, whispering lies that tiled temptations. There's no hero here, it hissed. Only the coward who dials back when fear calls. But he wasn't swallowed by the deceit. I am the hero of my story. He roared, battling back not only for himself but for every lost soul that echoed in this dark chasm. A blinding burst of light flared from the box, engulfing the dark and illuminating even the deepest recesses with a fierce vibrancy. The shadows convulsed violently, letting out a howl of pure anguish. The ground beneath Dave trembled as tendrils of darkness flailed, collapsing under the sheer force of his determination. The world shifted, light pierced through the tumult like a phoenix rising from the ashes. It dimmed the dark, creating openings, a pathway toward clarity. As the shadows began to dissipate, revealing the true power of his resolve, the monstrous form shrank, fading back to the nothingness from which it came. The space between them began to ripple, as rapidly evolving elements shook the ground. Realization hit him. He didn't need to escape the darkness, he had to embrace it, integrate every piece of himself to become whole. Eyes wide, he found the strength in vulnerability, his fear transformed into energy. I refuse to be afraid, he declared, letting fragments of his past reveal the potential within. And just like that, the world shifted with his conviction, and the remnants of the shadows slowly dimmed into light. He gasped, the storm around him turning calm as the dark faded, giving way to bright potential stretching infinitely before him. A new landscape awaited, vibrant hues of possibility, without the weight of fear, without shadows looming close behind. This is not just victory, this is transcendence. He never truly fought against the monster, he vowed to understand it, and with that, chains of darkness broke under the power of knowledge, a legacy shaped by acceptance, not fear. As the light settled into a soft glow around him, Dave felt a weight lift. He knew that what awaited him was not without its challenges, but they would be faced not in isolation, but as a convergence of experienced strength and shared struggles. With newfound clarity, he understood the journey to come was about connection, not just with himself, but with others. He would carry every person, every painful memory, and every victory in his heart. With a final glance back, he whispered, "Thank you for leading me here." Then he stepped forward, ready to embrace whatever lay ahead with hope and conviction, and just like that, Dave walked into the light, a world waiting for him, no longer haunted, but illuminated by the truth he had uncovered. So what does this powerful story teach you? That the biggest battles often happen within and facing them can lead to unimaginable freedom. But the journey isn't over, and more incredible stories await. You need to subscribe now, so you don't miss the next thrilling adventures that will blow your mind. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and keep this community growing, and don't forget to flood the comments section. What did this epic conclusion mean for you? What theories do you have on Dave's journey? Instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this thrilling conclusion. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait even one more second.